Welcome back. For those who stay, Radha Swami. Radha Swami is a greeting we use. There are many different greetings people use all over the world, but Radha Swami we use because of the merging of Radha and Swami of such the way this is Satsang itself in that way. I mean, that's a point right here. In Socha Yoga, Sant Mat, we call this Anami Loka. And the deity as Anami Purush or Satpurush. Merging Radha and Swami. Please understand that these are static states of consciousness. Anything beyond Satlak, these are static states of consciousness. I was planning to actually to say a few words about that, but Master doesn't want me to speak about that at this time, because there's a whole science. You want to call it science, research of yoga. Most of us we only aware of part of that science, and that deals with meditation, Simran, Dhyana Bhajan, of these different ways. And this is what generally is spoken at the general satsang. That's why the meditation is explained that way. But this is not the end. This is just the way it is presented. When I mean static states of consciousness, I do not mean like when let's say you deal with the mind, and let's theoretically say I'm just start speaking about something totally different. I didn't even plan on talking about it. It just came to me. So let's speak about mind. All these experiences you had are within the mind. And generally we understand this as one mind, but kind of we like to take this in little parts. So we speak about pinned mind, and then we speak about Chakuti, the causal mind. And we assign different bodies to it. So this is amazing, actually. Why am I even talking this? I just came, because for some reason, Master wants me to talk about this. So we like to speak about the human mind or pinned mind. And if the brain is a reflection of that, a physical reflection, and there are different centers in the brain. And there's a different path. There's a path, specific path within the human form for social yoga. This path is spoken by the great master Hazur Baba Saban Sen. And he will mention Camino Royal. He will speak about these different chakras. There's some records, a master will speak about 18 chakras and so forth. This story about the Swami coming to the master and going to Bias and so on. But this is very specific. I won't like to call it science, but this is never really expressed in general Sangha to explain. I was planning to do this quite a few times, and every time I'm kind of don't do it. I spoke about this to Mr. Puri, and we shared this. At that time, he said, Cezary, not many people know about this. Those are his words, actually. I asked him about. So from that conclusion, the conclusion is that not even Mr. Puri was really speaking about that to General Sangat. I never heard him. He would just say a few things, and he would show just generally kind of. Well, he would touch his forehead maybe when he was speaking a little bit. Mr. Puri was giving a lot of clues. Let me explain that to you. But to really know that, you have to understand what he was talking about when you were present at that. Someone just looking, not aware about that, they will not know. I'm speaking about body language. So these masters, they convey this, what they say, not just in the words of our anatomic word, but those conversation within going conversation, separate conversation which each devotee or listener or satsangi. If you put the 10 satsangis in the front row in Harper College, so to speak, or somewhere, each will understand according to his or her state of awareness or consciousness. So perfect living master can do that, because the real message is inside. Please also understand that in attendance there could be a lot more, let's call it people. You may not see them. You may not be aware of them. You may call them ghosts. Some people call that. But then nevertheless, there's a lot more going on. When I say there's a lot more going on during the satsangs by perfect living master, I mean a lot more going on. There's all kind of people, let's call them people. So they ought to listen to. And I know there's specific instances Mr. Puri spoke to us. People who passed away, he will tell us who even will attend his bandara. People who are were not with us, so to speak, anymore. And these are not people who could not complete their actually they still had to complete their Akashic records. So I was just tempted to say something. Because Akashic records, it's in causal mind or Akasha or sky. All this is written there. So when you pick up this DVD, so to speak, it's all pre-written. So there'll come the question, why some people get enlightened, at least from outside. People think, oh, this guy has to be enlightened in a very short time. And some people have to go through all this Akashic record, all the way to the grand dissolution, so to speak. This is because of how it is written. Okay. So hopefully when we pick up the DVD, we're going to pick up the good one, so to speak. But that is why each DVD is a little bit different. There's like no two similar fingerprints. There's also this, we are all different in that sense. I'm trying to metaphorically explain this. From one point of view, not from the source point of view, when you can't live anywhere, but from the point of view of mind and karma, all these different concepts and Akashic records. And you can tap into that if you're allowed to do that. Some people claim they can do it for you. I have a different opinion about that, and that is the story for different satsang. If you were initiated by perfect living master, by the way, like Mr. Puri, you are, this is a totally different ballgame. Although all these masters we spoke about 2 hours ago, they come from the same source. But each master has its own flock, so to speak. It's his own Sangha in that sense. Some of the master can have a few or one disciple. In fact, there's only one disciple. There's only master and one disciple. So if you look about this crowd, brothers and sisters, and all that, that is only true on the specific level. This is something we spoke with Raj about. In the ultimate sense, there's only one master and one disciple. And we learn that as we go within the state of consciousness, becoming aware of this so-called regions. They call it regions for the simplicity of explanation, environmental. But this has to do with the function of the soul in that sense. This whole show is created by the soul. It's not created by the mind like most of us think. It's just presented that way. But it's actually created by the soul. And the functions of Surat and Nirat in the soul go with, which I explained last time. The Surat attention, going through Vambara Gufa and so forth, how that little bit I explain how that works, and they have a Surat and Nirat, these different functions how go in and out, so to speak. But how this is represented in the human form is incredible. And it is represented in human form. All this different in the bodies, all the chakras the master was speaking about. These are not somewhere flowing up in the sky, so to speak. The human beings like you and I, we have 3 eyes. You have 2 eyes, which look outside. Let's say they look outside, okay? But you have a 3rd eye right in the center, which looks within. So in Ishvar Puri Santman, we're trying to bring the attention to that inner eye. Now, some will say that this inner eye, or the 3rd eye, or Agna, can look out. You understand that to look out, you have 2 eyes. This is what you use to look outside, or this projection of this, what you see, these are 2 eyes. The 3rd eye is designed to look within. So there's a huge difference. It's not like some of these monks, even or these gurus, they say, well, let's drill the hole here, we go in, stick the herbs and the stick. Please understand that really there's a lot of different information and a lot of different stories, but they're just imagination of the people. This not necessarily has to be exact science. So you may start all this different yoga system or tantra yoga and all of that, go to the beginning. Or you may take the way of Kabir and have a different understanding of the way of Guru Nanak. They all speak about similar things, but you have to listen to the right people, so to speak. I just got a quote by, let's see. I just got a quote here like that. Back to this. So all these masters are, when you're the master, like we spoke before, you know who is who. These masters know who is who, and who does what. They have respect to each other. Looking from outside, you may not be aware of that. Someone looking outside, but if you're in the company of this master, so to speak, you start understanding what is really going on, what is the real show. Let me tell you, the real show is within, way within. So the third eye, it looks within. So when you meditate, you're looking this as looking within, not like you're trying to look still outside and project like a screen outside in front of your eyes, or even behind your eyes, so to speak. There are glands inside, and there's even secretions within the brain and so forth, which activate specific functions, and they allow you to see within. So this is not just a function of astral form in that sense, which it is, or causal form, but there's also things happening in your physical brain, specific, this is all connected. So when I spoke about the mind, it's all one, but it's divided into these different bodies, so to speak. So the second body will be the senses, they call it senses. 5 senses, and in Buddhism they have a 6th sense. I think in India there's like 4 different forms of Buddhism. Excuse me, they all have something a little bit different. But generally, in Buddhism, they speak about all these experiences and this ultimate realization. They speak about the mind, and they will go up to the 8 levels of the mind. So there will be levels beyond the senses up to the 8th level, and this is this ultimate revelation and ultimate experience. Please understand that is still the mind. So if you're in that path, or you set that path, you will there will be a point when there's no experience. In other words, when the mind, let's assume this situation. I'm not saying it is possible, but let's assume people seeking the truth. They say, "Oh, I want to go beyond the mind. I am beyond the mind. I am beyond the mind." Everybody's speaking about that, including me. But what does that really mean? Going beyond the mind, what really means in that sense that there's no experience. There will be no experience of name and form. There will be nothingness. So if you can assume still awareness within that, with no experience, no name and form, not know your body, know your astral form, not your mental form even in that sense, you're beyond all of that. Zero experience, zero projection. So what would you call that? May they call that nothing, nothing, no thing. So there's different schools, Advaita, and all these different schools, trying to explain these states and Buddhism and other religions. But that implies that there's a state where there's nothing. There's nothing, you can be aware of it. No name, no form, no nothing, no color, no nothing. So in social yoga, when we speak about this name and form regions up to Bandha and so forth, to Satlok, we assume that the experience is possible because we're still dealing with the mind. So when I speak, or as trying to explain social yoga, Swamiji says that my path starts from Satlok, goes to Anami. And this is static state of consciousness. Please understand that this is not what I'm insinuating, like in the Buddhism, that this nothingness. do not make static states of consciousness, which we try to explain as alaka, gam, and anami, where no name, form, or color is possible. Do not equalize that this is what we're talking about. Now, to explain that, this will be very tricky because you can't. So we need to be aware where these masters operate. This perfectly, we call them perfect living masters. They operate from Satlok, or what we call the Sachkhand. These other regions, let's speak about Mr. Puri. He was a perfect living master operating from that region, as exemplifying the human form too. There's a question to Mr. Puri. There's some questions and answers. The question is, can these masters still experience the static state of consciousness? Yes, they can. Does that mean when you go to meditation, you can do that too? Not as an individual soul. Even these masters, they can do this individual soul. This is, I explained before, this is the region of Sachkhand, the real region, when the individual soul, so to speak, merge into the real form of Satpuru, call it form of a radiant form of Satpurush. So beyond that, the experience is reserved in that sense for the master. So if you're seeking those experiences, and if you say, there are some of that after Mr. Puri left, I know who they are, you may know too, they will explain to you all these experiences in Alaka, Gam, and Anami, and so forth. They basically saying, I am perfect living master, or I'm Satpurush itself. So this is the claim they're making, because not even Mr. Puri was ever making that claim. So be very careful. I don't know what I'm saying. That has to do with something which happening as we speak. So these perfect living masters, they operate from Satlok. And if you read Swamiji of Agra, the Sarbachan, the poems and prose, how this was related by Rari Saligram and so forth. It's explained in that, but these are name explanations of something which the name doesn't exist. Something when center where the Natmik originates. So generally they will explain why the Natmik originates here, generally masters, Satlok and so forth, but the originates there. The blessing or curse is that you can't just go, in other words, and have experience of that and just come back and talk to people about. So this explanation has to deal with a causal mind. I said before, so I'm free to say it again, that all these regions, Satlok, Alaka, Gam, and Anami, are recreated on the top of causal region. These are copies. So many times people say, well, I want to go to Sachkhand, I want to go to Sachkhand. Welcome to Sachkhand. Welcome you to Sachkhand too. I may not necessarily like the idea, because you will experience this as to Sachkhand, but this is just a copy. So this Kalnaranjan, which is from one point of view is a soulless, it's time. And when it manifests itself, they call this metaphorical manifestation. So when you're top of causal region, if you can get there, that's very rare. Mr. Puri privately told me very few people will actually reach that normally. So this is the very huge process, but taken very lightly. I'm not saying this very lightly. So Kabir Sahib, there's a poem, he explained that when they speak about this 21 Brahmandas, We're still talking about Brahmanda region. And on the 21st Brahmanda, this is when the Kal manifests in front of you, and he manifests as a Satpurush. So the Kal Naranjan will manifest himself. We speak of as this he, as a Satpurush, and his light is 1,000 times that of sun. So when you're in present of that light and that manifestation, he will take you to Sachkhand as a Satpurush. Please understand, this is the copy of the Sachkhand. This is not the real Sachkhand. So anyway, Ishwar Puri Santmat, you can verify that. You can research Kabir. Kabir Sahib speaks of in his writings, including Anurag Sagar, Ocean of Love, the whole creation. Mr. Puri recommended, and I also will recommend anyone who is on this path, initiated or not initiated, to read Anurag Sagar. And we have that on the website. There's a reason we have that, because there's a lot of information, metaphorical information, how this all works and how this was created and so forth. But this is metaphorically speaking. You have to really understand, and you may need someone really, not just a scholar who understands the original language and anything like that, but someone who can spiritually explain that to you. Unfortunately, I haven't come across of anyone present in that sense, all these different groups. Maybe I'm missing something, but from all this time I researched some of this, I cannot find any real true presented. People will have their own imaginations, they will have their own ego taking over and trying to explain to this and that, and they will quote these different masters, including the great master, and including maybe Jamasen, Cezary Saligram, or this Council of Masters in Agra, and all. This is endless. Or even trying to explain what Swamiji was saying. And to really understand this, someone has to be the master. To be the master, we all have that ability, so to speak, to be philosopher's stone. Mr. Puri speaks about, but to really have that state of awareness, state of consciousness, alive in your body, it means totally something different. Let me repeat this, means something totally different. This has nothing to do with explanations as a name and form. These are totally different state of consciousness and different states of experiencing. So when you come, let's say every single word I'm saying now, it is a funnel, like the oil in the funnel, it's funneled to the mind. And in fact, there's 100% in the mind. And most people will think the mind go only to the Trikuti. They call it Trikuti right here. There's this Shahasdakavana, so this is as high as you go, really, most of it. And this is the Sachkhand. But this is not the real Sachkhand. The real Sachkhand is located somewhere else. Even as reflected in the physical form, it's reflected in the pinned body, not just those in the body. So it is located in different place, but everything is reflected in the pinned body. I'm trying to get that message that when you look at, when Master, in other words, let's put it this way: when Master look at someone, he knows where they are. Not just spiritually and all this to the radiant form of the Master, but it's like the 6 base chakras in the pinned body, from Muladhara, all the way to Tisra Tela, Agna. This is if you skill enough, you can see this harmony, these are energy centers, so you can see this harmony but do not look exactly the same as these other chakras. So this is the one of the reasons Swamiji of Agra says my path starts at Satlok. There's a reason for that. Swamiji is trying to explain something incredibly important here. I may have said that before, but this is totally unknown to most of it. Maybe to you here in the satsang, because I think I mentioned that by mistake. So this path is very specific. So when we speak about the satsang, don't just buy anything anybody says, because even Swamiji, these are metaphors. These are states which cannot be really. Let's say you describe something, and then you have an actual real experience of it, and you call that static state of consciousness or chakra, and you have experience of it. But when you have experience, you realize that the name you describe doesn't even exist within that experience. This is just a name given from below. Let's call it from below. Trying to explain something which does it really exist? Yes. But it's not, your perception is not able to, unless you're the master, I would say, unless you're the master, and you may not have to be perfectly the master. In other words, there could be master and there could be a master. One assumes the role or is given. That is the process. I haven't met the person who really understands that, with exception of the master and Grace. She understands how this works, so to speak. So you can have two masters. This is a metaphor. I'm trying to explain something here. So one will be perfectly with the master. In other words, he will be doing these duties, call it duties. The other will not. Or the situation like that. So unless you're the master, you have to be a master first to have access to the rest. You have to be the master first to have access to the rest. Okay, now we got a new quote. So I'm trying to explain some of these things because we become delusional, and you can be on the spiritual path, and a lot of people have may have even mental issues, mental problems, because some of us, even to expose some of this information, we start being manipulated. And let me tell you, 98% of what you hear is pure manipulation. Not a pure manipulation, but because manipulation, that would be something someone knows the truth, kind of, but still lying to you and trying to convince you of this and that. This may be more in the sense that someone just don't know. They think they are aware of this stuff, but they are not. But they still read the books and meditate for 10 hours a day, and they think they do. No. In fact, meditation can only, this is this process which you give up in this sense. That's a totally different satsang. This may not be for the satsang. So I'm going to read some of this here. This is the good one in the sense, but it's kind of long. They're all good. Okay, let's start with Akashic records. Does every Akashic record contain a route back to Sachkhand? Because we just spoke about that a little bit. No. So this is from the YouTube transcript. And does every Akashic record contain a route back to Sachkhand? No. Some do and some don't. We just spoke about this. I didn't even have the intention to talk. Some are so long drawn out that they end with the end of the universe. And some souls that want to go back pick up those destinies, pick up those Akashic records. Whoa. Where there was a provision for going back to such kind. This is very interesting because many people say, how this guy did that and how, what about me? That's not fair and all this. How does this really work? Oh, Master, are you forgetting me? We who are seekers are all those who choose that, to going back to Sachkhand. Those who did not choose these special DVDs. So there is a special DVD, whoa, from the Akashic records, which are being played out as lives now. So it's important what kind of DVD you pick up, I guess. This explains that. Those will stay on roaming around till what is called dissolution of the whole universe, which is called pralay. Pralay means that the whole thing dissolves at a certain time. Everybody goes back and the souls are held in certain state. In pralay, they are held at the top of Trikuti. A lot of people have questions about that, and there's many misunderstandings. So this is the top of Trikuti, the dissolution. And in Mahapralay, when all minds are destroyed, interesting, universal mind is destroyed. We just was spoken about universal mind, you destroy no experience, nothingness. Only the pure souls and the totality of consciousness stays. So we were explaining, the name and form and statistical consciousness and all that. By the way, the name and form can exist from the lowest chakra and the pinned up to the subtle. That's when the name and form is possible. No name and form or color is possible beyond that. So anyone who is explaining and trying to convince you, they can take you this and that, and claim you are the super master. You were initiated by Mr. Puri, but I can give you high initiation than that, any master before. Be very careful. They are all held back at the top of the Par Brahman. Those who don't choose those particular destinies from the Akashic records, they stay on in the cycle of birth and rebirth. Those who choose them, their route is already marked. Speaking about marked souls, so to speak, in that sense, out as one of the lives later on where they will find the perfect living master and go back. So the few things here, the necessity of the perfect living master also. I can be delusional, doing this, doing that, without the perfect living master. Men they are like that, and they won't tell you, being delusional themselves, that they can take you with them. Be careful. Excuse me. Follow master, someone like a great master, all these masters, or my master, Mr. Puri. Listen to those who operate from that original state of consciousness. Like we were speaking about over 2.5 hours ago. Okay, let's take another one. IPJ, this is, by the way, by Sangram Singh. These are dated by 2019, yeah. We used to work in contact with him. Grace did you just send the email to him some time ago? Very spiritual person. And he was at the time writing the book. His book about Mr. Puri and all these different talks and yes. And if you ever get hold of that is something I recommend to read if you have a chance. I don't know if he published that or not. Very this should, persons like that have actually understanding in that sense of this path. But this comes at the price, and I will not go further. The more understanding is, in that sense, it comes with the price attached to it. So not every mind can handle it. Everyone says, well, tell me the truth, but they are not understanding that the mind may not be able to withstand the truth and may destroy. In other words, what I mean by that, it may literally cause problems within the brain itself, damage, not just mentally. When I'm speaking of physical brain, not just mentally or emotionally, but in physically. So this is not revealed. So when you ask, I want to know the truth, I want to know the truth, and you go to the master, please understand, the master look at you. You want to know the truth, but can you handle the truth? How much can you handle? I know we all want to know the truth, and we have the Ishwar Puri Santmat. We are seekers of ultimate truth. But are we ready to discover that? Now, when you're ready and you have opportunity to review with the master, and he revealed that to you, perfectly with master, in physical form, not just in dream or in experience, but in all of this. And if you had the chance, I'm not saying who did or who did not have the chance, because many people can be with the master, but that does, you can be living in a basement for 30 years and still, have an opportunity. But this is something different I'm speaking about. So anyway, the Great Master, this is a talk from Davis, 2018, in California. Great Master, that whoever he initiates will not come back to the physical form for the second birth. This is a very important part. The life in which he or she receives initiation will be the last physical life for that soul. Normally, initiates can complete the journey in up to 4 lives. This is in reference to that, because normally the times Mr. Pui will say 5 or 6 lives, but this is in reference to the Great Master initiation. Okay. And some people don't have to even go for maybe longer than 4 lives. IPJ Ishwar Puri Ji had also mentioned that this boon applies to the Great Master initiation that is given in Wisconsin during the Bandara, and also these days during the meditation workshop in September. These words are important, so there's a lot of messages I'm just saying to you right now. If you're collecting those, there's a lot of meaning beyond this. I also mentioned that last week during the Pataluma Satsang. Well, this is not for the, I cannot really continue this. This is for me. This has to do with something happened in India. Not for this satsang. I don't have the permission to comment on that. So let's take another one. So we learn from the word, these words, that the Great Master initiation means you do not have to be reborn in physical form again if you receive the Great Master initiation. and specify some other things. So if you're catching or maybe not catching. Now, if you have a questions about that, you can ask during the satsang. I will explain that. I read this tomorrow. I didn't go through all of it. The answer to this, what I'm going to read, is yes. And the answer basically says that what was true when the Great Master was physically alive, it's also true as reflected in his disciple. Even if the Master operates through his radiant form, the Master, I just said something I wasn't even planning to tell you. Whatever I said, it's for you. Oops. So let me read this. Master Baba Jama Singh, in your discourses, you have said that a man once initiated will not come back for more than 4 lives in total. This is in reference to Great Master. I'm trying my best to go back to my true home in this very life. I can't believe what I just said, what I just did say. Oh boy, let me read this. I am trying my best to go back to my true home in this very life. If I become your successor for the sake of those disciples who come for 4 lives, I will have to come for 4 lives. Is that your intention? You heard that story, most of you. Baba Jama Singh said, let me check it out. He closed his eyes, and after a minute, he opened his eyes and he said, a new Moj has come. Swamiji says, Master of Jama Singh. Swamiji says, whoever Saban Singh will initiate will not come back in this human life again. This will be the last life. That is the big news, very big news for the disciples of a great master, that they will not have a second life. That boon was accepted by him, and he said, I will do what you say. He put his head on the master's feet and accepted that role. Now, why I am Ishvapuri, this is Ishvapuri, why I am bringing this to your notice? Because people come to me to ask for initiation. I don't initiate. I have never claimed to be a master. I don't look like one. I don't behave like one. You have seen many masters. I am just a disciple. Mr. Puri speaking. You should know this. I am just a disciple of the great master. From my experience as disciple of the great master, I can tell you with certainty, 100%, certainly, if I recollect, he was a perfect living master. I am not saying just because other people said it. From my experience, he was a perfect living master. What I am doing now is entirely seva, service for him. I have no power. All the power is this master, Baba Savan Singh, Singh's power. He is physically dead. He died in 1948. I, his disciple, I'm still alive. So I am also now more than his age when he died, but he is giving me extension to do this seva. Many people don't even know that according to my astrology chart, I should have being dead many years ago. He's speaking about 57 years in the accident, I believe. People don't know this, that this is all his work, his seva I am doing. Therefore, when somebody comes and says, I want initiation, I have no option but to check with him, Great Master, because I can't initiate. But if he says initiate and he approves after seeing, and he is alive for me, he is as alive as he was in his body. It is only his power, only his approval that counts for my doing the seva of giving initiation. There's a lot of meanings what I'm reading. I know it's a long reading, it's important. Therefore, I always call in Great Master's initiation. Some people have questioned, how can there be a Great Master? He is not alive. He is not alive in the physical for the disciple, but he is alive for the disciple with whom he is there 24/7. So Mr. Puri explained that the presence of the Great Master, Hazur Baba Savansen, and I just said before too much, was 24/7. Alive in the same way as he was in the physical body. So that is why I want to make it clear, it is all his work. So if you come across anyone who makes the claims that he is doing the work or this and that, or that's the mind. That is the pure mind of, that is the mind speaking to itself. So let me read the final conclusion of this. So that is why I wanted to clarify that, and this is in bold letters. This is Mr. Puri. When a person gets initiation of the Great Master, which is called Great Master initiation, even today, or the time of Mr. Puri in this case, the same rule applies. In other words, the same deal applies. Deal between the Great Master and Jamasen, and Jamasen going to Swamiji of Agra, his master Swamiji, with that, asking for that permission for this deal. In other words, let's say there's a present, living master in that line of Namdan. If the present living master does something to be done, okay, let's put it this way. Let's assume there's someone doing spiritual work after Mr. Puri in that sense. So from that person, if there's any issue, it goes to the good Mr. Puri. If there's still any issue, it goes to Great Master. If there's still any issue, it goes to the Jamasen. And if none of this mastering can resolve, it goes back to Swamiji. It's a theoretically, I'm trying to explain something. I'm not saying this is have to be the case. So once you go to the Great Master and the promise, this all applies. Speaking of Mr. Puri, I'm not speaking about what, how. The same boon still exists. Such a person does not have to come back into the second life. A very big thing. I wanted to share this secret with you, Mr. Puri speaking. I wanted to share the secret with you. I haven't mentioned this before, so that is why I said, keep the secret to yourself. But it is something so immense. I cannot really properly describe. And the special boon was given to the Great Master, Baba Savansen, and approval was obtained by his master, Baba Jamansen, from his master, Swamiji. End of this. I'm trying to explain based on this how this moj or boon on Namdana goes. Mr. Puri explained here. I have so many of this, but I'll be sitting here for hours and hours. Let me take one more. But otherwise, these are what I just read from YouTube. And this one is from the with the Three Masters, Volume 2, page 113, 114. Let me read this one. What time is it? 9. Whoa. When Hazur Baba Savan Singh Ji sat on the veranda on his return from town, someone sitting near him mentioned that a certain person had an imperfect guru who had made that person take a vow that he would never accept another guru. At this, Baba, there's a different Baba Brahmanand, also addressed as Swami, was a naturopath from Karachi who treated the great master Ishwar Puriji, had related his story in some of his videos. I'm just reading here. I don't know about these videos. And I remember seeing, told us a related story from Valmiki Ramayana. When Ram left for Vishnupuri, sorry about my English, his home in the heavens, he ordered that all his subjects, including birds and animals, also be taken there. But a dog whose entire body was covered with insect-infested sores was left behind. He was in agony. Ram learned about the dog and asked Hanuman, the monkey god, to go back and bring him to that heaven. Hanuman immediately agreed to fetch him, but asked Ram why he was suffering so much. Ram told him that this dog is his previous life. In his previous life was a guru who had made no inner spiritual progress. He has a large following and lived off, or he had large following, it says has, and lived off his disciples, offerings without giving them any benefit in return. Now he has become a dog, and his one-time disciples are the insects eating into his flesh. So this is just another story. To anyone who is trying to have his ego on steroids, presenting, follow me, this and this and that. We all have to be, I spoke a lot, as I will have this critical faculty. Even if you're drawn to someone from within, or coincidences, Mr. Puri explained, verify. Don't be just like a blind person. Hazur rejoined that, I'm reading, Hazur rejoined that is not the case in Sant Mat. If a guru has not reached Satlok, this is a very important explanation, but his own guru has, he will take his disciples up to the stage he has attained. His guru or his guru's guru will take them beyond that stage. For example, Swamiji Maharaj has come from Satlok, so he will take every disciple of the gurus in the line to Satlok. They need not to worry about this. Three Masters, Volume 2, page 113, 114. So here we have a little explanation that it's not just a perfect living master responsibility, so to speak, to take you back to the true Sachkhand. When I speak about Sachkhand, I mean the Satlok, the true Sachkhand. So it's important to be in the company of the perfect living master who can do this. And he is explaining, let's theoretically say if he cannot do it, his master will do it. And if his master, for some reason, can do it, the master will do it. So this is totally different arrangement. Instead, if you go just to the guru, who even, I don't want to go there, it's too touchy. So it's important who you hang around with. Like I said, hang around with the true shepherd, like Mr. Puri, not with a shepherd who is the best friend of the butcher. This is not going to end up well for you, believe it or not. It's just the way it is. So these are the traps, of what we call traps of Kanarajan. So I can read this forever, but the time goes. So I will leave this to maybe to the next satsangs. I would like to address one more thing. There's many of us which we speak of Kalnaranjan. And of course, we have understanding that the Kalnaranjan is, we call this negative power, the creator of this ego Brahma, so or the three universes, mind, the causal also dependent on physical. But I notice some of us get totally preoccupied by Kanarajan and all these different concepts. There's a huge misunderstanding about many of these things. And Gurinder Singh explained that in one of his question and answers. He said, well, Kanaraja is the most devoted son of Satpurush. I'm speaking of how he explained that. But many people somehow blame him for everything, for all the evil in the world, so to speak. So please understand that this concept of Karnaranjan, or Kal and Akal, time and timeless, these are two sides of the same coin. These are two sides of the same coin. Most of us would like to separate this concept and only see one side. And I hope you know where I'm getting with this. I just don't want to say it. Some of you do. I know they do understand this concept. They will say, call this, call that, it's going to get you. And the way out of it is this, do this, do Simran, repeat. This is not going to get you out of anything. Please understand that repetition is even Simran. There's a time for everything. Well, let's say someone is driving. Actually, I have a quote I should read. What is the Simran designed for? The Simran is designed for taking you away from this five. And these five regions are. So when you go, okay, in the physical, when you start meditation. The physical body has 9 openings, so to speak. So the Simran is designed to take you away from those openings. In other words, you go within. And this process is in inner eye. But if you're driving the car on a highway at 100 kilometers per hour, you want to be alert outside in that sense. You want to be aware of what's happening outside. Okay. So repetition and the Simran, it has a specific application. And the aspect of blaming the Karl Niranja for everything bad happening into your life. Let me caution you here, if I may, listen what I'm saying or don't listen, totally disregard. Karl Niranjan is not someone you want to mess with, especially when you're in his creation. This is in the beginning was the Word was of God, and the Word was God. I spoke to Grace about many of these things. Sorry, my mouth is getting dry. My advice to you: don't run around and try to pick up the fight with Karl Niranjan. Since he is the being. How should I tell them? How should I say that? I assume everyone here present in this Satsang wants to get the ticket, right? How would you explain that, Grace? Grace said, you know how to explain that. Who do you think give you a ticket to board the train out of this ego Brahma, so to speak? Now, those who read Anurag Sagar by Kabir, I mean, really read. I have a version who is like almost 800, I think, pages. I sent to Pranay with some explanations. It is explained the deal between, in Kali Yuga, between the master and Karl Niranja, so to speak. I don't know why I'm even getting into the subject. This is the subject of two sides of the same coin. Who takes you from beyond the mind? Okay, let me explain this way. Who takes you beyond the mind? We call that perfect living master. Who gives you the permission to leave the mind? It's a Karl Niranjan. Most people think this is someone with sharp teeth and teeth or looking this and that. This is the being of immense love. When you're in presence of that, you think this is infinity, and it is infinity. This is not some. How do I tell them without telling? I don't want to say it. I want to say it the way everyone will actually understand what is really going on when they deal with the perfect living master and they hear in this mind.
Respect.
Grace said, have a lot of respect. That's what Grace said. Hmm?
Have a lot of respect for what you do in their life and for everything.
In respect of Karl Niranjan. Yeah.
Keep them in peace.
Yeah. I think you got the drift in this. So we think we are so important and so powerful, and we are. from where we come from, or at that state of within the consciousness still, individual soul. But even individual soul is the illusion, so to speak. But when you're in his domain here, your form, you're sitting behind the computer or iPhone, anything like that, it's called Naranjan. You're made of his essence. Your astral form is also made out of his body, so to speak, metaphorically. So is your mind. He created you. He's the one who created you. And what?
Keep you here.
And also keeping you here because you are his creation, so he likes his creation. But he's not somebody to mess with it. And many people do. That's why they get swallowed by Naranjan. So even if you initiate it, let me explain something else. Even if you initiate it and you reach that state here, it's just a state above the Sahasrara chakra, this Trikuti chakra, when you have a circle and the triangle, symbolically. Ask me some other time what that really means, what is the causality, how does your body look, and what is the body at that region. But he's the one, he's the creator. He got the power. This story about 16 sons of Satpurusha, the descriptions of to each son means this, means that. These are 16 sun currents, so to speak. Another way of looking at it. We mostly speak about 2 sun currents, right? Anyway, so the point is, don't pick up the fight, you cannot win. Would that be the point? Be nice. Because like I always say, make this your last lifetime. But going back to a few minutes ago, many people who are initiated by the perfect living master, when they get to that region, in other words, when they're consciously aware of this chakra, not just in the physical body, but causal body, which is simply mind. Mind is your causal body. Okay. Master, perfect living master, this is metaphorically speaking, he's still pulling you beyond that. But many will say no at that region. Even if they initiated, they will say no. They will refuse perfect living master. Because from that state of consciousness, it's almost infinity. Just like if you go to the region of Shunya, Mahashunya, you can be stuck in Mahashunya, which is like eternity. You know. So many will say no. And for those who say no, this is experience of the mind. They would like to stay with that experience within that. And like I said before, okay, let me put it this way, Kabir says, this is Sachkhand for that too. The point we're trying to make at this Ishvarpuri Sant is to seek the real truth. To seek what Swamiji of Agra explained. As he says, my path starts from Satlok and ends in Anami. In other words, from Sat Purush to Anami Purush, or Radhaswami Purush. And he reveals to everyone the secret which very few really understand. Swamiji, so many years ago, telling us the real secret to this path, so to speak, if you get the drift. So that's why I always say, seek within. Do not seek outside, because anything you seek outside, you seek into your two eyes, no matter what. I don't care what anybody says. Is it going out of their eyes or is it coming into the eyes? How this process works, how this crosses itself, and left and right, and how it goes in the back. Just electrical impulses, that. Forget all that. Anything you seek outside, you seek in your true eyes. We call it duality. What we saying, seek within. Through we have a three eyes, okay? So seek through that third one. But the third one doesn't look outside, it looks within. And when you go within to your next body, everything is projected again, just like here. And then you withdraw from that and keep going. So most people are concerned about outside and about how they see or perceive everything here. And they want to build or do whatever outside. Please understand, this will hold you here. This will hold you here. Anything, good or bad, good karma, bad karma, it will hold you here. And if not here, it will hold you within the next region. And if that doesn't work, it will hold you causal. Let's talk about that. And then you will say no. And there's a Satsang for those who say no too. Okay. But the role of the perfect living master is to take you to the true Satsang. I think we're done for the Satsang. I would say I got a lot of stuff here. I wrote it. Questions.